I was feeling witchy, so let's talk about the craft. But before we get started, can we talk about Robin Tunney's wig? Or is it Tunney? And yes, even back in the 90s, it looked weird to us. Also, Robin Tunney is like a 1990s version of Emma Thompson. This soundtrack is pure 90s alt-rock goodness. I haven't seen this in so many years, I almost forgot about the homeless man crossing the street scene. And for its time period, that racist bully was epic. The male bullies were pretty realistic too. I do have to say that this Catholic school has the loosest of dress codes. I have a fun story about that light as a feather, stiff as a board thing. My sister said that when she was in middle school and she went to nature's classroom, which is like an overnight school field trip to learn about nature, but it's in the middle of the winter time. She said that some of the students did the light as a feather, stiff as a board incantation and that it worked. She said that some of the students also did Bloody Mary in the mirror and started crying because they saw her. All we did when I went to nature's classroom was learn how to track animals by their footprints in the snow, and used food coloring and water bottles to play this game where we sprayed a trail in the snow and another group of students had to follow that trail in the snow. Then we had hot cocoa. But back to the movie. What makes the craft work is that it shows the characters' motivations and their struggles. They showed what Rochelle was going through, the racist bullying. They showed what Bonnie was going through with her burn scars. They showed what Nancy was going through with her alcoholic parent and dealing with poverty. And we learn about Sarah's mother having passed away during childbirth and her dealing with depression. So when they come together and form a coven, you start to root for them. And when their spells begin to work, it's even more satisfying. Seeing Bonnie in that rundown trailer with the leaky roof made seeing her in the new luxurious apartment more impactful. The 90s music was nostalgic for me. The score for many of the scare scenes worked really well, and the sound effects were on point. Turn the surround sound on for this. It's really great. The Craft is a modern classic for those of us that were in high school in the 90s. I wouldn't be being honest if I didn't say it was just slightly overrated, but I think that is due to there being such a lack of those type of movies at that time. I think the third act could have been a lot stronger, but it's still an enjoyable movie in my opinion. And without its success, you wouldn't have movies today like Chronicle, or TV shows like Charmed, or movies like The Witch Files, which I'm about to talk about next. So I will be back in a moment to talk about The Witch Files. I didn't put a lot of stock in this because it looked like a retread of The Craft. Like in the pitch meeting they said, The Craft, but make it found footage. In this we meet a girl who's doing a story for the school newspaper, and she's interviewing some girls that are in detention. This is how we meet our main characters. Side note, why does this girl have on every wristband that came with her watch? Anyways, they meet really quick, they get together and start casting spells. At first it's all fun and games, but then things take a turn for the worst. I like these characters. We get to know their personalities and their backstories through casual conversation. Sometimes it comes off very scripty and other times it comes off very natural. I think the difference is whether the lines are improvised or not. The dialogue was snappy and enjoyable. To me it sounded like things teen girls might really say. But I'm an old lady. If you are a current teen, let me know if it sounded realistic to you. The actors all looked age appropriate except for one of the male teen actors. This grown-ass man. To be fair, I do remember some students looking hella grown when I was in high school. So it does happen. The costume design was good. Many of the girls' outfits were very cute in my opinion. Not all the scenes were shot in one perspective. At one point, one of the other girls also gets a camera, and there's also inserts from security footage. The video chat sequence was shot with a regular camera though, which I didn't really care for. I think they should have just used real video chat software and just screen recorded it. They also used day for night in some sequences, and it didn't look too bad. I wasn't mad at it. This is all edited together so well, so shout out to the editors. They are the unsung heroes of the film industry. Let's talk about some of the effects. I like this little subtle glow that one of the girls' hands did when she got them out of detention. The coffee effect with the teacher was kind of hokey, but it was still fun. My favorite effect sequence was the boss fight between two of the characters in the street. There were some really creative and fun effects done for that scene. These are low budget After Effects type visuals, but I still like how they were used. It was just fun. And we need that right now. We need fun horror. I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. I didn't expect much but a ripoff of The Craft. That isn't what this is at all. The Craft was most definitely an inspiration for this movie, and this is pretty much a loving tribute to The Craft, in that there are definitely homages to that movie. But this is its own thing. It has its own story and its own folklore. I really like the story and the ending. At the time of this recording, this movie was available for free on Amazon Prime. I went more into detail with the technical aspects of this movie because this is a super low budget movie, and I think that they really did the most with the least. The Craft Legacy just came out, so I'm going to go take a look at that, and I'll be right back to tell you all about it. Doesn't it just feel like this movie popped up out of nowhere? It was like the trailer just dropped a week or two before the movie. Maybe it's just me. This was produced by Blumhouse and I believe distributed by Sony. I wonder if this will be as popular with teenagers as the original The Craft was with 90s teens. Especially since, from what I hear, there's a thriving witch community on TikTok. This movie starts out with our main character and her mother driving to their new home. I feel personally attacked by the portrayal of the Gen X mother getting hype over this Alanis Morissette song. First of all, the song played for a good while before she noticed what song it was. If you really love a song, you know it 2 seconds in. Secondly, Hand in My Pocket was not the one. You Ought to Know was the song to get hyped to. And Ironic had the most beautiful vocals, even if she didn't quite get the definition of ironic correct. I guess, isn't it coincidental? It's a little bit harder to sing. Anyway, Hand in My Pocket was the third or fourth most popular song by Alanis Morissette at the time. In Gen X rant. That was my first clue that this was written and directed by a millennial. They think they know us. So anyway, our main character, Lily, and her mother are moving in with her mother's either boyfriend or husband, it's not specified, and his 3 sons. I was so shocked when they were introducing the sons to her. How do you move in with a guy and your kids have never even met? That's not cool. Lily goes to her new school and something very embarrassing happens that if you've seen the trailer, you know what it is. And it's something that many a teenage girl has gone through, although most of us don't hemorrhage. That's how she meets the coven of witches who befriend her and help her. One scene that was very irksome was when her mother's boyfriend or stepdad, like I said, they never say whether they're married or not, was admonishing her for getting in trouble at school for defending herself against a verbal sexual assault. She just kind of stood there and took that, and her mom did too. In my mind, I was thinking, this is the part where you say, "You're not my daddy, f*** out my face." Oops, that's the type of stepchild I was. That was pretty bad though. My stepfather could be like, "Your mother wants you to wash the dishes." And I'd be like, "You're not my daddy." Anyway, I want to mention that her stepfather's name is Adam. And at one point he talks to her about snakes. I found that extra interesting because her name is Lily, which could be a short nickname for Lilith. Anyways, the girls get together and they see that their power has increased. So they start casting spells. Woke AF spells. For example, they cast a spell on the class a-hole who happens to have a poster of Lil Xan on his wall. And I did have to ask my younger sister if that was Little Pump or Little Xan. All I know is that one of them was online crying about finding out that their dad was a crackhead. I could not tell you what he sings because I'm old. Anyways, they cast a spell on him to make him less of an a-hole. He later comes back talking about heteronormativity and saying that his playlist now features an eclectic array of music. He even starts playing Princess Nokia. During the party scene, they did play Natalie Rose's Squad, which I really like. Plus, I wanted that Adidas set that she wore in the music video, but it was sold out for the longest time. I wonder if it's available now. Of course, that was like back in 2015. Speaking of 2015, this movie feels very 2015. And I'm wondering if this is what millennials think Gen Z is like. I find that amusing because millennials swear that they will never be old and out of touch. Yet, apparently some of them are already out of touch. I think when adults write movies about teens, they should literally have teen consultants. The dialogue in this was fun, even if it was expositional a lot of the time. I was entertained by the characters. However, an hour in, they still had only cast one spell. Only then, finally someone casts a second spell. And that's when things start to go wrong. In the original craft, a lot more happened by the 1 hour point in the movie. A girl's hair fell out, they ran over a guy with a car. Plus, it was very clear what each character had to overcome. Racism, medical issues, poverty, depression. I kind of feel like this movie wanted bonus points for being inclusive without actually being inclusive. Yes, you have a black character, and a trans character, and a bi character, and a plus size character. But you don't give them any background story or character development. They seem to be there just so you can check off a box. Except for the main character, Lily. This is a very Lily-centric movie. I wish a little more happened in the first hour. That said, I did not hate how this movie wrapped up. I feel like the payoff was just barely worth the build-up. I think you'll enjoy this movie if you know the true history of witches, more so than the Hollywood portrayal of witches. Also, if you know the mythology behind Lilith/Ishtar, which is actually pronounced Easter. This will also be interesting for you if you're familiar with internet culture. One character deadass makes comments that could be read as incel rhetoric. This had some laugh out loud moments, at least for me. I really liked the four friends. They were fun, energetic, and really likable. There's also some moments that may have been funny only to me. For example, at one point a character says, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." And I don't know about you, but I cannot hear that phrase without thinking about the booty warrior. This was better than I expected. I do wonder how Gen Z viewers will feel about it. Or if they feel a millennial director captured their teen culture accurately. I think this made a pretty good double feature with The Witch Files. And both movies showed love for the craft in creative ways while telling their own new stories. I had fun watching these movies. But like I always say, don't take my word for it. Watch it for yourself. Just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it. And just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't like it. Were you a fan of the original craft? Have you seen The Witch Files? Have you seen The Craft Legacy? What did you think? Let me know in the comments. Bye.